Have you ever woken up full of plans, determined to conquer the world, but by lunchtime you're already on the couch watching random videos online? Relax. You're not lazy. You've just been hacked. There's a chimpanzee inside your brain addicted to instant gratification, and it's sabotaging all your dreams. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of how I discovered my motivation was being hijacked by a rude little monkey living in my head. And more importantly, how I managed to tame this little creature and turn it into my greatest ally in having energy and focus every day. If you want to understand why you sometimes feel like a depleted zombie and how to reverse that once and for all, stay until the end, because I'll reveal the 5 secrets that completely changed my relationship with motivation. Spoiler: it has to do with the most powerful chemical in your brain, dopamine. The like-addicted chimp, understanding his dopamine machine. Imagine a chimpanzee living inside your brain. This little monkey is responsible for one very simple thing: making you feel good. He's like a private dealer who constantly offers you small doses of pleasure through a substance called dopamine. The problem is that this chimp is completely addicted to instant gratification. He wants pleasure now, immediately, effortlessly. That's why when you pick up your phone just to check something quick, 3 hours later you're still there, scrolling through the endless feed. Every notification you receive is like giving a banana to a monkey. Every like, every comment, every funny video releases a little dose of dopamine. The chimp is happy, you feel good for a few seconds, but soon it wants more. Here's the big problem. Dopamine isn't about pleasure. It's about the expectation of pleasure. It's that feeling of, maybe the next video will be cooler. Maybe the next notification will be important. The chimp keeps you in a constant search for something that never quite arrives. And do you know what happens when you overfeed this system? Your tolerance increases. You need more and more stimulation to feel the same satisfaction. It's exactly how any addiction works. The result is that activities that should bring you genuine pleasure, like talking with friends, reading a book, exercising, start to feel boring. Your inner chimp gets impatient, wanting to return to quick and easy stimulation. The good news is that now you know this little monkey is there, and the first step to regaining your motivation is understanding that you're not weak. You just need to learn to deal with this rude primate that's running your life. Stop being a lab rat, breaking the dopamine procrastination cycle. You know those experiments where you put a rat in a box with a lever? Every time it presses the lever, it gets food. Soon, the rat figures it out and keeps pressing the lever all day, completely addicted to the reward. Now look at your life. How many times a day do you push levers? Pick up your phone, open a social network, watch a video, eat something sweet, buy something online. Each of these actions is a lever that releases dopamine. The problem is that when you become addicted to these easy triggers, your brain loses its ability to motivate itself to perform tasks that require effort. Why would your inner chimp want you to study for a test when it can get instant pleasure by pressing the entertainment trigger? I discovered this firsthand when I realized I could no longer read a book for more than 5 minutes without feeling the itch to check my notifications. My brain was literally addicted to distraction. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's your brain avoiding activities that don't offer immediate rewards. When you need to do something important but not urgent, your inner chimpanzee panics. "Where's my banana? Where's my dopamine?" it screams. To break this cycle, you need to teach the monkey that there are other ways to get dopamine, healthier, more sustainable ways. But first, you need to stop feeding the addiction to easy triggers. Start by identifying your personal triggers. What are the automatic behaviors you engage in when you're bored, anxious, or procrastinating? For me, it was social media and YouTube videos. It might be different for you. The trick isn't to eliminate everything at once. That would send the chimp into withdrawal. The secret is to replace the bad triggers with good ones, creating new habits that also release dopamine, but in a healthier way. A dopamine diet for primate intelligente. Ok cortar y ok adicionar. Imagine feeding your inner chimpanzee pure sugar every day. At first he's euphoric, but soon develops emotional diabetes. He needs more and more sugar to feel the same pleasure, and any natural food becomes tasteless. This is exactly what happens to your dopamine system when you bombard it with super intense artificial stimuli. Social media, pornography, ultra-processed foods, addictive video games, they're all dopamine sugar. I decided to do an experiment on myself. For a week, I cut off all the stimuli I knew were addicting my brain. It was horrible. I felt bored, anxious, restless. The chimpanzee was going through withdrawal. But on the third day, something interesting happened. I began to notice things I had not noticed in a long time. The real taste of food, the pleasure of unhurried conversation, the satisfaction of completing a task. It was as if my senses were returning to normal. The secret to the dopamine diet isn't cutting everything out and becoming a monk. It's replacing artificial stimuli with natural ones. Instead of scrolling through your feed, go for a walk. Instead of watching random videos, call a friend. Instead of eating junk food, cook something delicious. Exercise is probably the best superfood for your dopamine system. When you exercise, you release a cascade of neurotransmitters that make you feel truly good, not just for a few seconds. Contact with nature is also powerful. There's something in our DNA that responds positively to nature. Even 5 minutes of looking at the sky or a tree can reset your nervous system. Real, not virtual. Social connections are another dopamine superfood. A genuine conversation with someone you care about releases oxytocin and dopamine simultaneously, creating a sense of well-being much deeper than any like. The rule is simple. If it's too easy and gives immediate pleasure without effort, it's probably dopamine sugar. If it requires a little effort but brings lasting satisfaction, it's real food for your inner chimp. Micro achievements for macro results. The small successes trick. I discovered something revolutionary when I started observing my inner chimpanzee. It doesn't care how big the achievement is, it only cares that it's an achievement. Making the bed in the morning releases the same dopamine as finishing an important project, obviously at different intensities, but the mechanism is the same. This completely changed my motivation strategy. Instead of waiting for big wins to feel good, I started intentionally creating small wins throughout the day. It's like feeding a chimpanzee healthy snacks instead of letting it starve until dinner. Science confirms, our brains release dopamine when we complete any task, no matter how small. The trick is to break your big goals into bite-sized chunks that make it almost impossible to fail. For example, instead of, I will read an entire book, start with, I will read 1 page. Instead of, I will exercise for an hour, start with, I will do 5 push-ups. Instead of, I will organize the entire house, start with, I will organize 1 drawer. What happens is magical. When you complete these micro-tasks, your brain releases dopamine. You feel good. Your inner chimp is satisfied. And you usually end up doing more than you planned because you're in the swing of things. I created a list of micro-achievements I can do at any time. Drinking a glass of water, stretching for a minute, replying to a message, throwing something in the trash, taking 3 deep breaths. These are all actions that take less than 2 minutes and give me a small dose of satisfaction. The secret is to truly celebrate these small victories. It's not nonsense, it's applied neuroscience. When you recognize and celebrate an achievement, no matter how small, you're training your brain to associate effort with pleasure. There are days when I wake up feeling a little discouraged, and I use this technique to warm up my motivational system. I achieve 3 or 4 micro-achievements in a row, and voila, the chimp is awake and ready for bigger tasks. The great thing is that these small victories build momentum. One micro-achievement leads to another, and before you know it, you've had a super productive day. It's the opposite of procrastination. Instead of one task leading to discouragement, each completed task propels you to the next. The wise chimpanzee. Building rituals that sustain long-term motivation. After months of observing and training my inner chimp, I realized something fascinating. He's not just a pleasure junkie, he's a creature of habit. When you create consistent rituals, he stops resisting and starts cooperating. The difference between motivation and discipline is that motivation depends on how you're feeling at the moment. Discipline is about creating systems that work even when you're not feeling inspired. But there's a third, smarter path: turning discipline into pleasure through well-planned rituals. I started by creating a morning routine I call Chimp Wake Up. I wake up at the same time, drink a glass of water, do 5 minutes of stretching, and write down 3 things I'm grateful for. It sounds simple, but each element was strategically chosen. Water rehydrates my brain after hours of sleep. Stretching wakes my body and releases endorphins. Gratitude activates areas of the brain associated with well-being. In 15 minutes, my nervous system shifts from survival mode to growth mode. The trick of rituals is that they create predictability for the chimpanzee. When it knows what to expect, it stops wasting energy resisting and begins to anticipate the pleasure that comes from routine. It's like training a dog. Consistent repetition creates automatism. Exercise has become a non-negotiable in my life. Not because I love working out every day. Some days I'd rather stay in bed. But I've created such a well-structured ritual that my brain doesn't even question it anymore. It's simply what happens at 7 in the morning. Quality sleep is the premium fuel for your dopamine system. When you sleep poorly, your chimp wakes up irritable and impulsive. When you sleep well, it becomes collaborative and focused. I've created a nighttime ritual that prepares my brain for rest. I turn off screens an hour before bed, read a few pages, and do mindful breathing. The key is to start small and be consistent. It's better to have a 5-minute ritual you do every day than an hour-long ritual you abandon within a week. Chimpanzees learn through repetition, not intensity. After a few months of practicing these rituals, something incredible happened. I no longer needed to force myself to do the right things. They simply became part of who I am now. My inner chimp evolved from saboteur to partner. It still seeks pleasure, but it learned to find pleasure in the things that make me feel good in the long run. Look at the journey we've been on together. We began by discovering that there's a chimpanzee addicted to instant gratification, controlling our motivation. We learned that we're not lazy, we're just hostages of a system that's been hacked by the digital age. We saw how to break the vicious cycle that keeps us stuck in procrastination, how to go on a dopamine diet by replacing artificial stimuli with natural ones, how to use micro-achievements to maintain momentum, and finally, how to create rituals that transform discipline into pleasurable automatism. The truth is, you've always had the power to tame your inner chimpanzee. You just needed the right tools and an understanding of how your mind really works. Now you have both. Remember that motivation isn't a feeling you wait for to appear. It's a muscle you train every day, and like any muscle, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. Your inner chimp won't change overnight. He'll still try to convince you to take the easy path from time to time. But now you know his tricks and have concrete strategies to redirect this primitive energy toward your most important goals. Sustainable motivation doesn't come from a single big change, but from small, conscious choices you make every day. Every time you choose micro-achievement over distraction, every time you fuel your brain with natural dopamine instead of artificial, you're training your chimp to be your ally. If this content resonated with you, leave a comment telling us which of these strategies you'll try first. I want to know how your relationship with your inner chimp is going. And if you're not yet part of our tribe of anti-coaches, subscribe to the channel because every week we bring you more content to hack your mind and live a more conscious and fun life. Until next time, and remember, your chimp is powerful, but you are smarter.